Number 6, the directions say identify the type of conic, the center, the vertices, the foci, the slopes of the asymptotes, and the major and minor axis. Then sketch the graph. Well, for most of these, sketching the graph would come in handy first, right? So let's start with A. Okay, also you might want to make sure you have out your formula sheet because the formulas are no longer on the board.
Yes.
And you're responsible for having this formula sheet with you tomorrow.
Yes.
You cannot write anything on it except for your name. Okay, so what type of conic is this? Hyperbola. How do we know that? Because there's a minus, right. So now I'm going to focus my attention on the two hyperbola equations. This is what type of hyperbola? Horizontal, and how do we know that? The x came first. So we're done with A. Now B. Where is the center of this hyperbola? 2, 0. Remember, the center is always the h and the k. The h is with the x, so that was x minus 2, so positive 2. And then there's no number beside the k, so that meant the k was 0. Okay, now C, the vertices. Well, before we can really find those vertices, we need to graph it. So we'll start that process by plotting the center at 2, 0. Right 2. There's 2, 0. Now, we kind of need to know how big to make our box. So to do that, you need to know your A and your B. What is your A value? Correct, because remember with hyperbolas, A is always the left denominator. And that would have been 3 squared to make a 9, so your A was 3. What was the B value? 2. So, from the center of the hyperbola, which ways are we going to go through units? Left and right, and how do we know that? It's under the x. So, since that 3 is under the x, you'll go right 3 from the center, and you'll go left 3 from the center. And then 2 came out from under the y, so you'll go up 2 from the center, and down 2 from the center. Now, those 4 points allow you to make your box. Okay, we already said that this is a horizontal hyperbola, which means it will open right and left, correct? Now, when they ask for vertices, what are they talking about? Where this part changes directions, correct? So like this is a vertex, and this is a vertex. So we want to write down those coordinates. This vertex is where? 5, 0. And this vertex is where? Negative 1, 0. Okay, so now we're done with C. D, foci. Well, for foci of a hyperbola, I look at my formula sheet, and I know that it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So I'm going to do that work over here. C squared equals a squared, which is 9, plus b squared, which is 4. That becomes c squared equals 13. And then to solve for the c, don't you have to square root it? And so what does c equal? 3.6. So we'll be moving from the center 3.6 units which way? Right and left. Because don't the foci points have to be over here and over here to be eaten by that? So we'll be going 3.6 this way and 3.6 that way. Which coordinate of the center will that affect? The 2 or the 0? The 2. So 0 is staying 0. We're not moving up or down, so it'll still be 0 in the y value. But if you're at 2 and you go right 3.6, that lands you where? 5.6. And if you're at 2 and you move left 3.6, that lands you where? Negative 1.6. Okay? E, slopes of the asymptotes. We didn't draw in the asymptote lines, but don't we know that the asymptote lines just go from corner to corner? So like this, and then over here I'll have to stretch it now that I've made it corner to corner. So there's one asymptote line, and then the other one would go from the other corners. So like that. So to find those slopes, can't you just do rise over run? You have to rise 2 and run 3. And remember, you can do that without actually looking at the line. And don't forget plus or minus, because you have a positive one and a negative one. How can we do it without actually looking at the line? Correct. Rise over run is y over x. Under the y was 2, under the x was 3. So 2 over 3. Okay, and then F asks for major and minor axis. Do we have a major and minor axis in a hyperbola? No. So we don't have to worry about F for this one. Any questions? Okay, now let's try number 7. The first thing they want you to do is identify the type of conic. What type of conic is this? An ellipse. So I'm going to focus in on my 2 ellipse equations. And I notice that A and B flip-flop, but A is always greater than B. Well, isn't this number bigger? And isn't it under the x? So that makes this what kind of ellipse? Horizontal. Where is the center of this ellipse? 0, 0. And we know that because there's nothing in the h place, there's nothing in the k place. It's just x squared and y squared. Alright, C, vertices. Do we have vertices with an ellipse? No. D, foci. You can do this without a picture, but let's go ahead and sketch a picture. Because for most of you, if you're struggling with a problem, having a picture of it will help you. So the center's at 0, 0. And then for a horizontal ellipse, isn't the A value the left number? So A would have been 7, so B would have been 4. Since 7 is up under the x, doesn't that mean we go right 7 and left 7 on the x-axis? And 4 is up under the y, so we'll go up and down 4 from the center, which happens to be the origin, so it makes it easy. Now you're going to sketch your ellipse. Okay, so there's our ellipse. Now they want to know the foci. So I go back to my formula sheet just to make sure I don't make any mistakes, and I notice for an ellipse, foci is a squared minus b squared. So c squared equals a squared, which would be 49, minus b squared, which will be 16, and that becomes c squared equals what? 33. But then to solve for c, you square root both sides, and c equals 5.7. Okay, so from the center, we're going to go 5.7 which directions? Correct, because with an ellipse, the foci have to remain inside. And if you went 5.7 up and down, it would go outside. Well, which number is that going to affect? The first one, the x value. So if you go from 0, 5.7 over, won't that land you at 5.7? And then 0, you don't move up or down. And for the second one, if you're at 0 and you go left 5.7, where will that land? Negative 5.7. And then 0. Okay, E. Slopes of the asymptotes. Do we have asymptote lines with an ellipse? No. And then major and minor axis. Do we have that with an ellipse? Yes. For this one, which axis is the major one? The x. Because see how this one is longer than it is tall? That means the x-axis is the major. And how many total units is it from here to here? 14. From negative 7 to positive 7 is 14 total units. So the major axis is 14 units long, which would automatically mean the minor axis is the y-axis. And how many total units is it from negative 4 to positive 4? 8. Okay, any questions? Okay, number 8. Identify the vertices and the foci of each. Okay, well this one they didn't give you a graph, but for most of us, we're visual people, so graphing it helps. So let's kind of do this one the same way we did the last one. What type of conic is it? Hyperbola. Is it a vertical or horizontal hyperbola? Vertical, and how do we know that? Y came first. Where is the center of this vertical hyperbola? -2, -6. That's the trickiest time to find the center because with a vertical hyperbola, this is your x minus h, so your h is 2. This is your y minus k, so your k is 6, or -6, because you do the opposite sign. Okay, now let's find our a and b. With hyperbolas, aren't the a values always on the left, and the b values are always on the right? So the a value was 12, the b value was 9. So now we have enough information to graph this vertical hyperbola. We go to the center, -2, -6. Then from there, we'll leave and go 12 units which ways? Up and down, because the 12 is up under the y. So from -6 up 12, wouldn't that land you up at +6? And from -6 down 12, wouldn't that land you at -18, which is going to be way down here? So I'm just going to do this and write -18. Okay, then from the center of the hyperbola, we'll go left and right how many units? 9. Well, from -2 right now will land you at what number? 7. And from -2 left now will land you at what number? -11. Okay? That creates your box. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in my lines for my box. Okay, and we already said this is a vertical hyperbola, so that means this is going to open up and down. Okay, and now haven't we identified our vertices? We just have to write the coordinates. Here's a vertex, and here's a vertex. What are the coordinates of this vertex? How do you get to there from the origin? Left 2, up 6. So your first vertex is -2, 6. Your second vertex, you have to go left 2 and down 18. So -2, -18. Okay, now to find foci, because they want both foci points. The foci formula for a hyperbola is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So c squared equals a squared, which is 144, plus b squared, which is 81. And what does that combine to be? 225, and then you have to square root it. And what is the square root of 225? 15. Okay, so from the center to get to the foci, we'll be going what directions? Up and down. Okay, because the foci need to land somewhere up in here and somewhere down here. So that will not affect the x coordinate of the center, right? It's still going to be -2. But from -6, if you go up 15 units, where will that land you? 9. And from -6, if you go down 15 units, where will that land you? -21. Any questions? Okay, number 9. They want us to find the two vertices, and they want us to find the foci points. Okay, well, what conic is this? What type of conic? Hyperbola. What type of hyperbola? Horizontal. Where's the center of it? 2, and then that, if you want to, just to make things easier on you, that's 8.5, but it'd be -8.5, right? So I'm going to go ahead and plot my center. 2, -8.5 will be right 2 down 8.5 blocks. So right there is my center. And now to get my box, I need to know my A and my B. What is my A for this one? 13. And yeah, 13. It's 169. 13 squared is 169. What's your B? 8. From the center, you're going to be moving 13 units. What directions? Left and right. So this is definitely going to run off, because if you go to right 13, you'll land at where? 15, right? And then if you go from to left 13, well, where will that land? -11. So way over here. Okay, now aren't those, well, that's just the first part of my box. From the center, we now have to go how many units? 8 up and down, right? But remember, this is at a half mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then down 8, which will be somewhere down here. But honestly, do those really matter? Because aren't these your vertices? Because this is a horizontal hyperbola. So that's a vertex, and that's a vertex. Now we just got to write the coordinates of those. To get to this vertex, don't you have to go right 15, down 8.5? And then to get to this vertex, don't you have to go left 11, down 8.5? Okay, now to do the foci of a hyperbola, it is a squared plus b squared. So c squared equals 169 plus 64. And what does that become? 233. Okay, and what is the square root of 233? 15.3. Which ways will you be going 15.3? Right and left, correct? Which will not affect this number. That's up and down. So that will stay negative 8.5. If that were on the test, it would be negative 17 over 2 though, right? So from 2, if you go right 15.3, where will it land you? 17.3. And then from 2, if you go left 15.3, where will it land you? Negative 13.3. Okay, now let's go over the bottom 4, which are simple, so we'll fly through those, so hurry. Can I erase? Okay, in the bottom section, they just want you to use the information provided to state the slopes of the asymptotes. Well, there's no graph. You can graph them if you want, but really to do slope is simple. We all know that slope is rise over run, and you rise up and down like the y-axis. We run left and right like the x-axis. So you just have to look under your y and look under your x. Under your y was originally what number? 2. Under your x was originally what number? 6, but that will reduce to 1/3 and then plus or minus because you have a positive asymptote line and a negative one. Okay, number 11. Y over x would have been 5 over 2, and that one won't reduce, so you're done. Number 12, the y over the x would have been, will that reduce? To 2 over 3. Remember, your calculator will reduce for you. You just have to do alpha y equals n over d, type in the fraction, hit enter, it'll give you the reduced form. Or you can just type in 6 divided by 9, enter, it'll give you decimal form of it, and you have to hit math and then change it to a fraction that way. Whatever way you remember how to do. Then number 13, under the y was the 25, so that was originally a, and under the x is 16, so that was originally a 4, and that won't reduce. Okay? I can't imagine there's going to be more than one of those on the test, but hopefully you'll get it right. Alright, next page. Use the information provided to write standard form equation of each hyperbola. Okay, so they give you a picture of our hyperbola, and then they give you 4 equations. You just have to pick the right one. This is kind of like on our quiz. What type of hyperbola is this? Vertical. It's opening up and down. And we know with vertical hyperbolas, what comes first? The y. So I can rule out which one right away. C. Where is the center of this vertical hyperbola? Right, and that means your h is 0, your k is 0. So that rules out which choice? B. Now we just have to decide where the 25 goes and where the 16 goes. Well, if you go from your center up to the vertex, how many units did you go up? And is it that the y-axis vertically? So under the y should be a 16, which is A. Okay, number 15. What type of hyperbola is this? Horizontal, which means what? We can X out C. X has to come first with a horizontal hyperbola. Where is the center of this hyperbola? 3, 0, right? It moved right 3, but then it didn't move up or down. So the h is 0, the h is 3, the k is 0. And so does that rule out any of them? D. It should be x minus 3. Because remember, there's a built-in minus into that formula. Now we just have to decide where the 16 goes and where the 4 goes. Well, if we go from the center to a vertex, it doesn't matter which way you go. How many units are you traveling? 2, which means under the x should be a 4, which is B. Any questions? All right, number 16. They don't give you a graph, but I would definitely make one if I were you. They give you the 2 vertices and the foci. So let me insert a graph. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to plot is my vertices. 3, 10, which is right 3 up 10. I'll put a V by that so I know that's a vertex. And then 3, 2, right 3 up 2, and that's another vertex. Then they tell me my foci points are at 3, 11, so right 3 up 11, and that's F for foci. And then 3, 1, right 3 up 1. Just by seeing that on your graph, you know this is what type of hyperbola? Vertical, because don't your hyperbola that look like 2 parabolas have to eat the foci points? And so that means it's going to be opening up and down. Does that rule out any of the choices? All of them except the right answer. All of them start with X except B. And I know that this is vertical because of the way the foci and the vertices were plotted. Okay? All right, now let's look at number 17. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plot my 2 vertices. So 0, 5 would just be straight up the y-axis to 5. Negative 10, 5 would be left 10, then up to 5. Okay, those are my vertices, so I'm going to put these so I know. Then I plot my foci point. 8, 5 would be right 8, up 5. And that's a foci point. And then negative 18, 5, which is obviously going to run off the graph, but just by knowing that the foci points are left and right of the vertices tells you what about this hyperbola? It's a horizontal one. Does that rule out any of our options? C, because horizontal hyperbolas start with X, so that rules out C. Okay, now we need to locate the center, because maybe knowing the center will help us narrow down. What do you know about the center once you've got that graph? The center is located in between the vertices. So wouldn't that make the center negative 5 up 5? Okay, there's your center. If your center is negative 5, 5, wouldn't that be x plus 5 and y minus 5 in the equation? So that works for all of them. Okay, so now let's figure out the differences. Let's figure out what should be under the x. From the center to this vertex is how many units? 5. So isn't that your A value? So what number should be under the x? 25. So that rules out B. Now here's where it gets difficult. Okay, normally by this point we've narrowed it down enough to know the right answer. But if they're really, like, do we see the box in this one? No, because we don't know our B value yet. This is the way you would have to do it. Okay, just watch. You take your foci formula for a hyperbola, which is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Well, don't we already know what a is? Didn't we say from the center to a vertex is 5 units? So a is 5. We don't know b because we don't know how much up or down it goes. So we have to leave b as b squared. Do we know c? Think about it. Don't we know the distance from the center to a foci point? How far is that? From a negative 5 to a positive 8 is how many units? 13. So your C is 13 and then you square it in the formula. So now look what I can do with this. 13 squared is 169. 5 squared is 25. Plus B squared And now I subtract 25 on both sides, and I get 144, which would mean b is 12, but in the formula you would keep it squared, and so it would be 144. Does that make sense? Okay, number 18. List the solutions of the following system. When you have two things that have been graphed, what do they mean when they say the solution? Where they intersect, right. So how many solutions are we going to have in number 18? Two. Here's one where they intersect, and here's the other. The coordinates of this point are what? No, this point first. Negative 4, 4. And then what are the coordinates of this point? 0, 4. Now, some of these questions, whenever the choices are given, they only list it like this. They only list the x value. So what would the answer be if they only listed the x value for this point? X equals 0. Okay, so now let's look at number 19. How many solutions are you going to have? 2. 1, 2. What are the coordinates of that far left point? Negative 3, 2. And what are the coordinates of the far right point? 0, 5. But if they decide that they're just going to write it with the x values, this one would be written x equals, and this one would be written x equals 0. Okay, now let's talk about how to do it when you're not given a picture to look at. You create your own picture with the graphing calculator. So get your calculator ready. Okay, go to y equals, clear out anything that's in there. Hopefully nothing will be, because I'm going to try to make sure people reset them after each period. And then y equals x squared minus 3x minus 4. And honestly, for y'all's class, if something is in there, it's going to be Algebra 1. Because 2nd, 3rd, and 4th period are Algebra 1. So, if you see something, I would not go with it, because it's Algebra 1 stuff typed in. Okay, then we type in the second equation into y2, x plus 1. Okay, then we graph it. And now you have a picture where you can pretty much tell me the solutions, just like you could from up there. But in case they're hard to find, the calculator will give them to you if you just remember this. Second, trace, intersect, which is number 5. And then you just move your tracer to the intersection you're trying to locate. And then you hit enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it's a negative 1, 0. But without even remembering second trace intersect, don't you think you could have figured out that's negative 1, 0? Okay, so our first solution is negative 1, 0. Or they may just write it as x equals negative 1. They may only write the x solution of it. Now our second intersection is way over here. You have to go through the same process. Second trace, number 5. So now move your cursor over to it. And then hit enter, enter, enter. And it's at 5, 6, which you probably could have figured out without actually doing second trace intersect. Okay, so 5, 6. So if they decide to write that as just the x value, what will it look like? X equals 5. Okay, why don't you quickly try 21 on the calculator by yourself before I go over it. Type it in and maybe you'll see like where you're typing in wrong or something. Okay, so x squared minus 4 is your first equation. X squared minus 4. And then your second equation, and then your second equation is just negative 4. That technically is like y equals 0x minus 4. It just has a 0 slope, so they didn't write the mx. They just wrote the b. Okay, so when you graph it, hold on, let me go to the b one. So when you just graph negative 4, it's the same thing as like 0x minus 4, and that's why it just makes a straight line through negative 4. So you didn't get that when you graphed it?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, well when you go to y equals, did you type in these things? X squared minus 4 and negative 4? And you made sure you used a minus here and a negative here? I'll have to check yours in a minute. First, let's find the solution. Okay, I'll fix it in a minute. You can see that it crosses at 0, negative 4, right? But just in case you're having trouble tomorrow, you hit second, trace, number 5, and then enter, enter, enter. 0, negative 4. Now remember, if they write that as a x value only, it'll just be x equals 0. Any questions?